Call the budget committee to order. Do we have any citizens communication?
No, ma'am.
Okay, then I guess we're ready for the budget transfer. Phoebe?
First transfer request is from the juvenile court clerk. This is requesting $3,000 to be moved from contracted services into office supplies. They are just needing to make some additional office supplies purchases.
Can I get a motion? Second. Has anybody got any questions? Ready to vote? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Anybody against? 4-0.
The second transfer request is from Director of Insurance and Risk Management. This is a request to move monies from the excess risk insurance line down to the building and contents insurance. This is just a reclassification of funds to pay that premium.
Move to approve. Second.
Any questions? Ready to vote? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Anybody against? Passes 4-0.
The next transfer request is from our IT department, requesting $30,862 from the communications line into other contracted services. This is for some additional funds for a project that we have partnered with the state of Tennessee on, and this is just additional funds to finish out that project.
Any requests? I mean, any, oh, you got it. Already did. Can we get a second?
Second.
Any questions? Ready to vote? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Anybody against? Passes 4-0.
We have a transfer request from Director Johnson from the Animal Control Center for $500 from communication into software license. This is just additional license fee that has gone up that we just need to cover that cost.
Move to approve. Second.
Any questions? Ready to vote? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Anybody against? Passes 4-0.
Your next transfer request is from the clerk and master. This is a request for $400 to be moved from printing into dues. The dues and membership line is just running a little short, and dues went up this year.
Move to approve. Second.
Any questions? Ready to vote? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Anybody against? Passes 4-0. Okay, that's all the transfers.
No, one more.
Oh, got one.
This has come in since yesterday.
Okay.
Solid waste. Maybe.
Oh, yes, thank you.
Oops, that's not
That's
it.
clerk and master.
That's, yes, is that it? No, you have the right one, Sharon.
You're right. You're right. I can see it.
Okay.
Second.
Thank you. The final transfer request is for solid waste from Solid Waste Director. This is moving $114,000 to be distributed between the gasoline line item at $5,000, electricity at $39,000, water at $1,000, equipment repair $40,000, vehicle repair at $29,000. So this is a total of $114 moving between those line items. The line item that this was being transferred from, we had included in the budget for this fiscal year a project for design of the Class 3 expansion and for the permit from TDEC in order for us to do that expansion. We have postponed that, so we put that on hold. So therefore, the funds are available for us to distribute throughout the needs for the remaining of the year for some repairs and such that have come up that were unexpected. If we had not had postponed this project, we would have had to do a resolution asking for you to allow us to pull this money from the fund balance of the solid waste fund. So this is us just trying to do that since we have kind of identified that area that we can use instead of coming back to you and asking for more money from that fund.
Will we need to reapprove expansion at a later date?
It is included in this fiscal year. You will see it in
Yes. Okay.
2 weeks.
Can I get a motion?
Move to approve.
Second. Anybody got any questions?
It's the 39,000 max. It's the 39,000, is that for the new MRF? First time I've seen it.
Electricity.
That's when we get the new Eco Mister up and running.
Okay.
That's gonna cover the electric bill. The electric bill is estimated to be $13,000 a month. So we didn't have that budgeted this year, so in 2 weeks, you'll see a big jump in our electric bill. That's the reason. They should have it running by
Electric
then.
Mister.
It's a big tube, it's got little nozzles around the end of the tube, so we're gonna blow forced air through it. Nozzles are gonna atomize the leachate, blow it into the air, evaporate it. What doesn't evaporate, we built a bowl to catch it in and feed it back into the system, so we'll just recycle it. And if it works like it's supposed to, we will run out of leachate within the year.
That's a good thing.
It's a
Yeah.
good thing.
Commissioner Smith, do you have any more questions?
No, we're getting to it.
Ready to vote? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Anybody against? Passes 5-0.
4.
Four, yeah, sorry. Next, we're ready for the highway fund. Eddie, would you like to come and present your budget, say if there's any changes? Address it.
Well, this budget meets the guideline that's put forth by this body here.
The only thing we added, we had to get safety toe boots
Yes.
for the employees, so that is a $11,000 increase under uniforms.
I think that's a really good thing. I think it will mean a lot to them and it will
Oh, it will, yes,
prevent any accidents.
it will.
Why don't you let Phoebe, while Eddie's here, explain, or Jim, the insurance? Because we've reallocated some of those costs. If you go down to the,
It should be on page 5.
yeah, page
It's bottom
5.
of page 5. The bottom of page 5, you will see other charges. This is where we start our insurance for our building and contents, and you'll see that on the following page, excess risk insurance. If you see that second line or second column from the left, that is the current original budget. So that is current year that we're working out of now. Originally, that line was budgeted for $34,060. You can see in that next column for revised current year budget was increased to $114,090. So when, you may remember, you may not, but way back in the beginning of the fiscal year, we had a transfer request moving money from the building and contents insurance to the excess risk. So it was, when we received the premium, the bills for the premium, we identified that those monies had been allocated, appropriated, I guess, in each line. So we had underfunded this line and we had overfunded the next line. So we did a transfer so that we can make the payment and allocate those funds properly. So that's what that is. So that's why there's no adjustment this year. So the only thing we have done that I have done for in this budget that we will have to address later on the 22nd of April is you'll notice that that department proposed number is the exact same amount, that $114,090. And you can see right underneath, I left a little number that says 0. So that is because we do not have our new numbers yet. So I have projected to just keep it status quo for now until Jim has the opportunity to get our premiums from the carriers. You know, that was part of the bid process. Those bids have come in. And Jim is in the process of going through all of that and getting those new numbers. So that's why that says 0, but you'll see there's an explanation that says anticipated percentage increase. So that's why you see that. So this will have to be adjusted once we get those final numbers.
And then May 5th on the second readings. is
We
that
can do
when
the
we'll-
second reading, yes. The exact same thing is obviously for, that will go all the way down through page 6. This is the same for workers' comp, building and content, again, vehicle claims. All of those will come back to you. So at this time, we just keep it as whatever was budgeted for this fiscal year is what we went with, just to keep it status quo. The only other adjustment was for our state retirement. It is also on page 7. The TCRS rate increased this year. We have our actuarial valuation came through from the state. And we have been put on notice that that rate has gone from 8.46%, as it is currently, to 8.77%. And that's why you will see that little line there, the additional cost is going to be $39,000 for that adjustment. And other than that, everything else is completely the same. Other than, as Greg said, some additional boots and salaries. Everything else is zero, grid zero change.
Can I get a motion to get it on the floor?
Move to approve.
Second.
You got any questions?
Yeah, just on the insurance, so I know you say percent increase, is that what you're anticipating, is there will be an increase in the premiums across the board, or?
Jim will have to take care of that. He is looking at those numbers.
That'd be great, thank you.
Yeah, for the 2025-26 fiscal year, we are absolutely expecting some increase in the cost of insurance. What that number is still being negotiated with our broker, who we just selected the 22nd of March of this year, USI, to move forward with. I would not anticipate anything less than perhaps a 5% flat increase across all lines right now. That's being conservative at this point, with some kind of tough negotiations to be done in the property arena and the general liability arena specifically.
Any more questions? Are we ready to vote on the highway budget of $15,874,597? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Anybody against? Passes 4-0.
Thank you.
Thank y'all. Next is the agricultural and natural resources.
I think you'll find that this budget is all within budget guidelines. Where you do see some adjustment is in the bullet points too. So in 2014, so there are 7 cost share positions between UT, TSU, and the county. And so in 2014, some of those positions were already cost shared in some lines, but not all lines, like medical insurance and the slight portion of retirement and longevity. So in 2014, all new positions, they asked to transition over retire, or some portion of retirement, the rest of the retirement, health insurance, and longevity. So as those positions have come open through retirements or vacancies, we've transitioned those over. So this year is being requested for the 7th and final position to be transitioned into cost share. So that's where you're seeing those changes and those higher reflections.
Can I get a motion, get it on the floor?
Move to approve.
Second.
Has anybody got any questions for Mr. Horton?
Yeah, I guess just because I'm new to the budget committee and this is the first time I've actually really did a deep dive.
Absolutely.
So can you kind of explain to me a little bit more about the cost share? Is this, they had been paying for the 7th employee and now we're picking up?
So
more
they have
costs?
been paying for, yes, so the 7th employee, they were covering all of the health insurance. The county was covering part of the state retirement. There was a portion that they were not covering. So this is requesting that they cover the full, basically 50%. So what we have to put through in all these lines is we put what the max potential would be. So if they have a family with kids and a spouse, that's the max potential for health insurance. So if they do not use, if the employee we hire comes in as a new hire and they have just are single, then that cost will be much lower. So then the county maintains those funds. So it's not transferred to UT and not coming back. So any return goes back to the county. So we're at $10,500. That's what we would expect for hiring somebody that has a full family spouse. And so that's why it's that number.
Any more questions?
You're welcome.
Ready to vote? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Anybody against? Passes 4-0.
Thank you.
Soil conservation is,
They're not here.
you want,
Yes. So this is for our Williamson County Soil Conservation. Williamson County, the district provides homeowners practices, prevention of soil erosion, so they are our person. We have a secretary in that position. The only increase to this budget is a $2,810 $10, which covers the additional raise and additional longevity for her services.
Can we get it on the floor, motion?
Move to approve.
Second.
You got any questions? Ready to vote? All those in favor say aye. Anybody against, passes 4-0. Next one is the economic and development. Gentlemen, would you like
Thank you so much. So this budget reflects $400,000 in county funds that goes toward the salaries of the economic development team. This was just some historical perspectives as a result of economic development moving into the new Chamber of Commerce when it was formed now about 12, 13 years ago. The $400,000 has been flat over the last, I guess, 5 or 6 years, I think. And this year, we made a change to some of the benchmarks in consultation and collaboration with the commission to focus on existing business, entrepreneurship, and workforce development as well.
Can you get a motion?
Move to approve.
Can you get a second?
A second.
Does anyone have any questions?
I did, because we had talked about this just previously.
Yeah.
So I know this came up when we were actually looking at the contract renewal as far as like trying to collect more from the municipalities. So it was a little bit more evenly distributed as far as what you guys needed to run the economic development portion of it. And I don't know if you just want to share kind of what you and I talked about, if there's still a possibility to get more of that money so we're not paying the full. I think we talked about 470,000 is what you get from the municipalities and then from the county. And it came up during last year's discussions to try and make that a little bit more equitable,
Sure.
I guess, between the municipalities and between the unincorporated area. Just to possibly say, I guess it's probably gonna come out of taxpayers' money in the way you look at it, but
Right.
the unincorporated,
Sure.
might save them a little bit.
Yeah, no, yeah, that's exactly right. I know we had a chance to talk just briefly here. We talked a lot about this as well. Every time we do a campaign, which is on 5-year cycles, so we can plan 5 years ahead, we do make a run at the different municipalities and ask this question. Right now, the only contract we have is with Williamson County, but yeah, those are ongoing conversations, I would say, because it happens on an annual basis for different cities. So we've had conversations about an increase. I don't think anything's come through. I don't know if you want to add anything, Nathan, but yeah, those are annual conversations we have with the municipalities in Williamson County.
No, sir, I don't have anything to add. I mean, we certainly, we solicit them and ask them to increase their participation. We will keep doing that absolutely on an annual basis, but
Yeah.
And is there any I guess because you do a contract with the county, but is there any possibility of doing contracts with the municipalities too? I mean, how does that work?
Yeah, no, that's a great question. Right now, it's just been funding and hasn't been a contract connected to any of the municipalities that fund. And I think it's Spring Hill, Nolensville, Thompson Station, and Franklin. Franklin is probably the biggest funder. Oh, and Brentwood too.
I guess you just probably, I think $14 million gap we're trying to
Sure, understand completely. Yep,
I understand
totally
that
understand and respect that.
There
for
is
sure.
a contract, but is there even a possibility to amend a contract? If they came back and said, we're gonna get more money from Franklin or Spring Hill, can we even amend the contract at this point?
Yeah, absolutely, you can always amend the contract.
And we'll have another chance. I don't know if you could do something between now and May.
unlikely. I mean, I don't, again,
I know last year, I think you got some extra money from Franklin,
no, we got a little bit of extra money from
Spring Hill.
Spring Hill.
from Spring Hill.
Certainly what would be helpful as we have these ongoing conversations is to help us influence that, right? I mean, we go just us. And so if we had some partners in that conversation, maybe that would change how those conversations go. But candidly, to say that we could go out between now and May and sit with Thompson Station and Spring, that feels unlikely. They have their budgets locked in. We just applied for City of Franklin's funding, so that's baked, essentially. I don't know, we can certainly look forward in the future, but for this year, this next fiscal year, based on the funding cycles, I don't think that it's likely that we could get any additional resources from any of those municipalities.
Well, I'm willing to do whatever we can to try and make it a little more equitable because I'm trying to save.
Understand.
I
understand.
think we're all trying to save
Sure.
money where we can.
Understand. Yep, understand.
And for what it's worth, I mean, if you looked at, so y'all got the, annual report, I think I sent it January 30. And what you look at is the CapEx of the two projects that we announced last year, it's a little over $1 million in investment, that those companies were bringing. I think the total jobs were 165. I know True Green's average salaries were north of 150K. So all that to say, I think from an ROI standpoint, I think we're a good bet for this community, and so I certainly respect you trying to find opportunities to cut.
And in our conversation earlier, one of those projects was a manufacturing project that moved from California to Fairview. So that is definitely something that's a big opportunity in the future. We've had probably a decade worth of conversations, actually seen some movement around manufacturing options in Fairview, west side of the county.
I will make this comment because I'm a lifelong resident. These people that's lived here like 20 years don't realize what it used to be. There was nothing here. If you wanted a good job, you drove to Nashville. There was nothing here. And it didn't pay well if you found one. So we're very lucky. Not that I like all the people coming here, but you brought a lot of jobs. And my question is, with the economy kind of, what's happening now as far as what y'all are bringing? Are you working more with existing companies trying to help them versus new ones coming in?
Yes, ma'am. So as Matt mentioned, our focus this year and toward the end of last year is really looking inward and sitting with those that are expanding. And how do we help them continue to create great career opportunities and get them the support that they need? So we're still doing that, but I would say this last quarter has been surprisingly active. So Annalisa Roberts on our team, who leads business development work now, there are 4 new to market projects that she's having some conversation with. And they're all looking at, with the exception of one, are looking at taking on existing space, which is really, really important. But no question that our focus, and we just had a meeting yesterday with an existing company. How can we be helpful? How do we support you? How do we help you ultimately create more great jobs for our folks? But the interest in taking on existing space from new to market companies has definitely kicked up this quarter.
Good.
Or Q1, I should say.
Yes. Anybody got any more questions?
Just one, Madam Chairman, and you may not know the answer, but I'd appreciate a feedback. How many employees were over at the IRS office that went on the market today?
That's a great question. I'd have to look back. I think that project located maybe 8 or 9 years ago, if that's right, when they built the space. Maybe 300 to 400 employees at peak. I'm not sure how many were there. I'm not even sure if people working in the building at the point they gave the space out.
I was under the impression that that building was vacant.
It is vacant.
It is.
Oh, yeah, I'm sorry, it is. That building is vacant. I'm sorry, I misunderstood. That building is vacant right now. That's
But
correct.
They're reallocating those people. And so that's, let's see, you've got the announcement just this week, wares went out on one company. I think it had a couple of hundred, I'm trying to think of it. They rented, somebody help me, leased out people, it was a professional service group, for help, for restaurants, and they're closing down. Now, they're in Nashville, and then you've got Miss Christie Cookies going out.
I saw that.
Right.
Purchased by a California company. Yeah, they're in their closing their last retail location. It was purchased by a California conglomerate, I think.
But neither one of those are located in it. Neither one of them, well, they say there's.
I think it just broke Judy's heart. I know. I know.
There's other local people you can buy from. But I think it's important we keep an eye on, I know I'm following, like everyone else, the stock market, seeing what's going on, but I think it's important for us to keep an eye on some of these companies that are rolling up their tents. They're not in our county. Now, the IRS had already cleared out most of it as a vacant building, you're correct.
Right.
But those are jobs, and that may change our unemployment mix number. Now, for the last 60 days, it hasn't.
Yeah, it's a good point. And you were at our event earlier today, you saw the survey we did both in December, January, and then a follow-up in March, because there's been so much change on the federal level. How did that impact our businesses. It looked like it did a little bit, but, we'll see where everything falls out.
And to that point, that makes the 400,000 that we get from the county even more important. So when you think about the possibility that, we got a commitment from company XYZ to support us, but who knows what happens with the economy by the time we get to year 3 or 4. And we've had it happen where they said, we just can't do this anymore. And so we go out and absolutely seek additional, lots of private support, but that's not a given, especially now. And so that's why that $400K for a team of, again, supports a team of 5 that's doing that work for this community. That's why I think it becomes even more important.
And as a follow-up, Madam Chairman, if you don't mind me asking these guys while they're here, on our largest automobile manufacturing, are we seeing a reduction in numbers in them yet? Because they are very large.
Sure. I don't, not to my knowledge, we have not yet.
Might be able to.
Yeah, Commissioner Smith might have a better answer than I do.
I work for them.
Yeah.
I didn't mention the name.
Yeah. Don't want to do that.
Yeah.
But there's definitely concern. I'm concerned about, rental property vacancy.
Sure.
Concerned about, less dollars being spent. Less folks are, living here. They're looking for opportunities.
Yeah.
Because it's, as somebody who's lived here for 20 plus years, coming here now, making a salary that I make would be a very difficult decision. And so we definitely have a lot of folks that are choosing to live on the outskirts and choosing to move to other counties. And I know more and more people are making that decision.
Yep.
So that is definitely a concern. So I know looking at opportunities is something that is key.
Yep.
But I think the other side of it is too, is I think we've been on this growth for a really, really long time. But what we've seen is it hasn't really paid for itself. We're still struggling to pay our teachers enough, pay our law enforcement enough, and then also pay for all the capital projects. There's a reason we have the debt we have, because we got to build new buildings because of the growth, and those ain't getting any cheaper. COVID didn't help, that's for sure. So supply chain's an issue, tariffs is an issue, so it's like batten down the hatches right now is kind of the.
Well, and I will say too, I remember during the 08-09 recession, the building where Jackson National Life Insurance Company is, there was a piece of plywood in front of that. And it's hard to believe that would be the case in Williamson County, but I think that just shows by our strategy of recruiting corporate headquarters, the last location to close keeps job opportunities as long as possible for members of our community. I think that's why that strategy is so important. So if something happened at a reduction at our larger employers, you have other employers that can take up the slack and hire some of those people as well. That's very intentional.
Yeah, I would strongly suggest that if we could find a way, that I really think manufacturing and some of the blue collar jobs are going to be so important moving forward, especially as we're looking at, being in the first line for supply chain, here. So I think that you're seeing with Innovation Hub at Williamson County Schools, hands-on jobs, jobs that are not corporate, because I'll just say it, AI is a game changer. It is a total game changer. So I would be more focused on nursing, hands-on, jobs, and being able to have a housing market that can actually work for those folks. So that's just my little soapbox.
Yeah, absolutely. And we were involved and been involved with the EIC and the new center they're building as well to really those vocational skills, incredibly important to economy. Agree. And again, we've had conversations and even landed a project in Fairview just from what you're talking about.
I want to say this, coming from the rural area, economic development has helped my constituents tremendous. A lot of farmers, where they used to sell land for $5,000 an acre, where you get these developments, these businesses in there selling for $100,000. These people that didn't have much now, they're multimillionaires. So a lot of people that's lived here a long time have become very wealthy due to the developments and economic. So it's helped my area a lot.
Yeah, I guess there's some people though that they like the agriculture, and it's not always about the dollars.
Right. Sure.
It's about the culture, and it's about the identity.
Yep.
And I know that there's, I had conversations too with, farmers that feel like they're kind of getting pushed out too. So if property taxes go up, that doesn't help the ones that do want to stay and they do want to farm. And they do want to keep that going in their family. So it's a balance.
Well, it's green that they're in the green belt, so their taxes don't go up as much. It's just kind of whether you want to be a millionaire or you want to sit there and farm and make much money. That's basically what it amounts to. But the development has done that.
Sure.
You know,
And it is a
there's
balance.
proof
No,
of
no,
it.
it is a balance.
Thank y'all.
Thank you for your question.
Yeah, thank you.
Can we get a motion?
You got
Or did we get the
I
motion?
think you're good.
Okay,
Took him a second.
a second, you're ready to vote.
okay, ready to vote? All in favor say aye.
I'm gonna abstain just from this one, just to see if there's any savings that we might be able to get from municipalities and local and that.
All those in favor say aye. Anybody against? Abstain?
Yeah.
So 3, 4, and 1 abstain. Thank you. The next is the TMA budget.
Phoebe, judge on that.
Okay, public transportation.
Yes, this is our pass-through grant. So we have a relationship with the TMA group. And this is money that is for the grant that they receive that has to literally pass through us to go to them. This is for operating expenses. It is offset 100% by a revenue line item. And actually this year, the number has gone down slightly. I did check it 3 times because I'm not used to seeing their number go down slightly. But I did check their balance, and this is the request, and I believe everyone has a copy of the request that outlines both grants. There's 2 grants that are coming for this fiscal year, and this is just to pass those funds through. Once they're spent, the reimbursement request goes from the TMA group to the state. The state sends the county the funds, and then we reimburse. So it's just literally a pass-through.
And Debbie Henry is here
She is
sitting in the back.
Which is why she gave me a thumbs up that I did not mess that up. Thank you, Ms. Henry.
Can I get it on the floor, please?
Move to approve.
Second,
Has anyone got questions?
just a quick question, is this one in jeopardy with the federal, or if there's any sort of federal pass-through
I'll
to
let
this?
Debbie answer that.
Do I need to come up there? Okay. Oh, no, it was taking a minute.
That's all right.
Thank you.
You want me to wipe out?
That is an excellent question, and these funds, these grants are obligated, so they're good. We have not, just to answer maybe another question that might be on the horizon, as of yet, we have not received any word about, future funding. And so, but when we do, we will let you guys know. But these are secure,
Okay,
so,
awesome.
yeah.
Thank you.
Well, we like that, yes. Thank you, guys. You've been a wonderful partner since 1993 on this project, and we so appreciate the support of all of you, so thank you.
Since you're getting less money, what are you going to cut the amount of rides? I mean, you gotta cut somewhere.
I'm sorry?
Since you've gotten less money, where are you cutting at to?
Well,
Do your budget.
these grants are 3-year grants,
Mhm.
and so one of them is getting ready at 12/26 to expire, and the other one has a long time to go. So to be honest, COVID took out some of our, reduced some of our ridership, and so therefore we haven't had as many expenses and things like that. We haven't had to use as many funds. And a second on that, Judy, is that, or Commissioner Herbert, Lynch, is that we have, we received some CARES funding back 2-3 years ago. And so that funding is getting ready to expire, but we've been able to use that and save these funds. And so those funds, those CARES funding and funds have carried us forward, and they helped us through this time so that now our expenses are not as great this next year as they would have been had we not had the CARES funding.
So you don't feel like you'll have to cut services?
No, not at all. Actually, we're expanding our services, so fortunately, no. So, yes. So in what Matt and the Chamber was talking about, we work hand in glove with them as well. And so, and what you were speaking of, the economic development, the people that we're actually working with the IRS to help them and meet the needs of the employees that, are being relocated and providing, because we did provide transportation for some of them. And so we're working closely with the VA, the IRS, all the government entities that use our services, actually. And so, yeah, we're all locking step on this together. So, but our funds are good right now, and so we fortunately have not been able to didn't need to cut any services.
That's good.
Yes.
Anybody else have any questions?
Thank
Ready
you
to
all.
vote? All those in favor? Oh, do you have a question?
I was just gonna say, it's good to see you.
It's wonderful to see.
Ready to vote? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Anybody against passes 4-0. Next is the benefits department.
The budget you have in front of you is just for the operation budget, not the benefits budget, which is within the guidelines. The only increase is with the longevity and the recommended salary increases.
Can we get
Move
it
to
on the Second. Does anyone have any questions? Are we ready to vote? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Anybody against passes 4-0. Next one is dues and memberships. This Phoebe, is that you?
The next one is for dues and memberships. These are for various dues related to organizations on behalf of the county. As you see, most of these are 0% change. There are two that actually went up. The Greater Nashville Regional Council has gone up $1,160 from last year for what they're requesting for dues for us to be a part of their organization, as well as the Metropolitan Planning Organization. They have also gone up a little over $1,500. You will see that down the very next to the last. Everything else is a 0% change. So the total budget went and it has an increase of $2,697.
Motion approved. Second.
Has anybody got any questions?
I guess just for my own, education, the two that went up, the Metropolitan Planning Organization and the Greater Nashville Regional Council, what benefit do we get from being part of those councils?
Which one?
Both of them, the Greater Nashville Regional Council.
So, the GNRC, all of these associations that are affiliated, they base that off from population. And so as your population goes, you have an increase in it. The GNRC is a 13-county regional issue that studies everything from traffic, solid waste, all of the multiple regional issues that have something to do with the Middle Tennessee area. That's where they go through. The MPO, the Metropolitan Planning Organization, which is really a old name that they've had, all of your funding for your highways and roads has to go through there. So your city should have, each city within Williamson County has a seat at the table to discuss highway projects that are state projects or federal projects, not the local projects. So Eddie would handle his own, although Eddie has a seat at the table along with myself and all the cities.
Okay, thank you.
Any more questions? Ready to vote on the dues and membership budget of $102,651. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Anybody against passes 4-0. Next one is employee benefits.
Is it this one?
You want this one?
Yes, ma'am. So the employee benefits will address your Social Security for the general fund, your state retirement, life insurance, medical insurance, disability insurance, unemployment compensation. So this is for the total number for the entire general fund. So this is for those county. This does not include highway or schools or solid waste. Those are other separate funds, and they account for those individually. The numbers that you see before you, the state retirement, again, just as it did in the highway fund. So that number has increased from 8.46% to 8.77. Again, that's an actuarial evaluation, and they tell us how much that has grown and how much we must pay. Life insurance, we have maintained, the only increase there, you'll see a slight 0.8% increase. This is to add additional $52 for the 9 sheriff's officers that were hired mid-year, or approved, those positions that were approved mid-year. So that is, obviously, if we approve them mid-year, then next year I must fund the whole entire amount. So that is for additional 9 individuals there, so that has gone up very slightly. Medical insurance, we continue to budget at a rate of $13,000 per employee. Again, part of that bid process, and once Gina has an opportunity to go through those bids and get those numbers, we will come back to you. I believe that's also on the 22nd, but later this month, you'll see those numbers. Whether or not we are confident that we can maintain our 13,000 ahead. Currently in the general fund, we budget for 1,073 individuals. Again, that number increased slightly from last year's budget only because of the 9 additional sheriff's positions. And that is it. Everything else, your Medicare, Social Security went up in relationship to the raises for a total increase to your employee benefits of $1,199,737.
I got a question. On
Yes,
the
ma'am.
9 new positions, I thought a lot of those were just promotions, not new positions.
Those were new positions.
I remember that, but I was thinking some of them were existing promotions.
We have to fund for the position, and so when you all authorized us to hire.
We just going to fund for it if it was a promotion. So a lot of those guys got promoted. I can't remember though.
I think a few of the positions, gentlemen, ladies and gentlemen, did get promoted into those new positions, but then they backfilled their current position.
Okay.
You authorized them to hire 9 new ones, just like the other, yesterday, you're authorizing for the future too.
Can I get a motion?
Move to approve.
Second.
Has anyone got any questions?
I do. I know that too, as part of the 22nd, I guess, will be the day we'll know if there's any change to the overall cost per employee. If somebody opts out of like the medical insurance, do we still have to pay for that person? So, because let's say I was a full-time employee, but my husband's insurance covers me. And so I opt out of the insurance. Is there any cost savings to the county taxpayers?
I would think it would be hard for very few people would opt out, considering it's free to the employee, but Gina will take care of that.
Funding regardless, because an employee could opt in at any time, or they might have dental or just medical. But then it also offsets the cost for some of the retirees that are on the plan that we don't get funding for.
So retirees don't pay anything?
They pay an amount, but I don't get funding for them. There's not, the 13,000 is not budgeted for those retirees that are grandfathered, so that kind of offsets that cost. That they're not paying, I think they pay 20% of the amount of the benefit, so that kind of helps with that offset.
And I know it's one of the bids, we are looking at the state plan to see if that.
I'm looking at the numbers, but I mean, it's a totally different.
You need to come up.
That would have to be something we'd
Gina,
have to look at something.
You need to come up to the microphone.
Sorry. We are looking at the state, and I look at it every year, I have to, because I have to do some reporting with the state. But that, if we did happen to move to the state plan, that would have to be a totally different way to look at how we operate, and probably, I mean, right now, I'm focusing on looking at a comparison of what we currently have. The state didn't really send in a bid, they just sent in, if they don't do bids or RFPs, so they just sent me information about what they have available. And I'm, gonna provide some numbers, but if we ever looked at it, we would have to probably go through the teachers union and everything, to make that move.
And I looked at their premiums, I know there's different layers, different tiers for educational versus like regular county employees. I guess the reason I was asking is that, because I have friends who've moved from Rutherford County who were on the state plan, and now they've moved, they're, working in Williamson County, and it's not been positive, like their experience so far. on the insurance plan. I don't know if we've done like a survey with the employees because I also have talked to people that love our insurance, love the insurance we have, but I've also talked to people like, this isn't working for me. Do we ever do a survey with the employees to see like what they like, what they don't like, and if there's, consider that as part of the RP?
No, we haven't done anything like that.
Might suggest it. I suggested to Jason too, for the teachers, but I might suggest seeing happy. I mean, we've done that, we do a survey every year, before, Nissan goes out and does an RFP on it. Say, what do you like, what you don't like? And they use that information to kind of come up with a plan.
I guess, and I'm fine with that. I'm not arguing. I think sometimes it brings good ideas to the table. It just seems like it always becomes a negative. You only hear the bad things, not the positive things. So, I mean, but it's something we can definitely look into.
I've heard both. I've heard good and I've heard, yeah, that's why I was like, well, you like to make decisions based on data.
Right.
Madam Chairman, did I hear you right? They had a bad experience? Some of the teachers over in Rutherford County, so what you
Yeah, no, coming to the new insured, I guess I don't know what the difference is because honestly,
There's a lot of differences. Plus, you just lose that one-on-one, and that's really what Rutherford County lost was they no longer have a group of people internally to deal with. You have to call the state, and I think that was a lot of it. And they lost their on-site clinics and a lot of different things.
And I know Metro has a completely different model of what they do for their medical insurance, but I've also seen I guess a newspaper article.
Well, they're self-funded. Metro is, but yeah, it's a little bit different.
I know there's a lot of different models out there.
Commissioner Guffey?
Yeah, I just have a question really for clarification, because I know that you're doing a big project with the RFP, and that's a big lift. Because of my career, I understand some bits and parts of what you're doing. So plan design, what the employee sees is a completely different picture than, for a self-funded group such as the county, than the RFP that you're working on, which is really pricing of the reinsurance, pricing of the pharmacy contract, average script price versus average wholesale price, and that sort of thing. So what you're doing, that project, correct me if I'm wrong, is really working on the underlying pricing so that then we can turn around and work on the contribution, right, and the cost per employee per year.
Correct, because we won't make a determination on any plan design until after July.
Right. And so I think to Commissioner Smith's question about comparing it against the state, that's really plan design versus plan design, correct?
Actually, they are not self-funded, they're fully insured.
Right.
So
apples and bananas.
Yeah, so we would be out of it totally. We would just be giving them $1,000 a month regardless, it's paying a premium.
Right.
And we would have to also look at anybody that would retire moving forward would have to be part of that. So we would have to come up with the funding of that money moving forward as well.
Yeah, I guess it's just, obviously when you look at the overall between the schools and the county, it's upwards $80 million, for medical and dental, and this is one of those line items you're like, is there any way to save money? Not really to reduce our budget, that would be great, but just put more money in the pockets too.
Right.
Gina, how many retirees are on the insurance?
I think you said 60.
Well,
does it usually go up or go down?
It actually stays right about the same. We'll have probably the end of the school year, so August, we'll see, we keep them on our plan until August because they pay through the summer. Probably 50 to 60 that will retire on the school board side. A majority of them do qualify for retiree benefits. A lot don't, but a majority do, are grandfathered. But it's strange, and I can provide some numbers. A monthly, and this sounds kind of morbid, but we might have one pass away and then we get one on. So the numbers stay pretty close total. So, but on the plan, the medical plan, Either it could be a spouse that's still on because our retiree passed away. It's about 1,600 that are on the medical plan.
Thank you. Anybody else got any questions? Ready to vote on the employee benefits budget of $27,932,846. All those in favor say aye. Anybody against?
I'll be against as well.
So it's 3 for, 1 against. The next is the debt service. Amy, you're on the stage now.
So our debt service, the first one we will speak of is the general debt service. General debt service includes those county projects as well as those high school projects. As you know, the debt service takes care of K through 8, and general takes care of high school. We have in principal on bonds coming due the next fiscal year, an increase for our county general side of $3,460,000. That's where you'll see there, that first slide is an increase of 16.9%. The education principal for those bonds are an increase of $635,000. Again, these are just what comes due based on our amortization schedule, so I have no control. It's just, these are what is due is what I pay. Interest on bonds for the general fund, or for the general projects, is $1,039,131, an increase. And the interest on the education bonds this year will go up $32,476. Everything else will remain the same. There was a slight increase. We went ahead and did an increase in trustee commissions. As you know, if you'll recall, at the end of the fiscal year, we take a look at trustee commissions and we have to usually increase those a little bit depending on how much revenue we've collected and how much we have put into those funds. So instead of trying to avoid doing another resolution every single year for the same amount, just went ahead and added $63,000 to that. So that's why there's a small increase there. Total overall budget is an increase of $5,229,807, for an 8.5% increase.
Move to approve.
Second.
Has anybody got any questions?
Yeah, I have two. So one is, I know that there's also potential to collect interest revenue on the monies that we haven't actually spent. Do you have an idea of what that interest revenue might look like for this?
This fiscal year was over $1 million and actually came in a little bit. We were projecting only hitting about 85% of the previous year. This year actually came in better than what we had projected. We thought there would be a drastic drop. So far, we haven't seen that drop. So I think it was about $1 million, a little over $1 million that we've received so far this year. I do not have that one in front of me. Let me see if I can. If I can't remember and write it down, I just take a picture of it. I've gotten to come to myself. Let's see.
That's about
Not, but it was probably about $1 million.
That's about right, because we were looking at $12 million for the year. And the CDs, the market, it changed a little bit, now it's peaking back up, so we'll see what that.
Okay, so it's around $1 million. It's a little over, but it's.
She's talking a month, I'm talking about 12 million.
Oh, so okay, I like your number better.
Well, we don't allocate all of our 12 million to one fund.
Okay.
So interest total gets split between general fund, solid waste fund, rural debt service fund, and general debt service fund. So we split that allocation. So based on a percentage of those collections, that will be what we've gotten so far in rural debt service. Each year we can look at those numbers and we evaluate based on what was received the prior year, and we can evaluate that percentage split based on, so we take the 12 million and then we'll allocate it accordingly to each fund.
Thank you. And the last question I had was, I know that like this year for, I think we only took out about $70 million and went to market. What is the balance of what the commission's approved that we still could go to market for?
We had one intent to fund that we did not go to market for. That was for, it was for the,
Triple J.
well, outside of the Triple J, we also had increased in our intent to fund the second year of a Parks and Rec project. And I did, one of those pieces of papers I didn't bring. But we actually had an intent to fund, and we did intent to fund for both years, but we knew going to market, we were only going to go for the first year for Parks and Rec. So I think there's around $3 to $5 million that we were planning for that second phase of that park. And then, of course, then we have the outstanding intent to fund for the Triple J. We approved $280 million, and we only pulled down 20 this last fiscal year.
So we still have 260 million.
Right.
And then 263 if you
Right.
count the Parks and Rec that are out there still in intent to fund.
Yes.
That was.
Get it on the floor. Is it on the floor? Have we got it on the floor?
Yes.
See more questions, you ready to vote? Ready to vote on the general debt service? $67,081,676. Everybody for, please say aye. Aye. Anybody against? Passes 4-0. Next one is the rural debt service.
Rural debt service, we have a little bit more principal coming due this next fiscal year. The increase in our principal on our bonds for education for K through 8, there is an increase of $10,390,000 due for those principal payments, for a 68% increase. Interest is actually only going up $169,883. And there is no change on anything else. The total increase is $10,559,883. Again, that is what is principal and interest coming due for the next fiscal year.
Can I get it on the floor?
Move to approve.
Second. Has anybody got any questions? Ready to vote on the rural debt service of $42,198,228. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Anybody against? Passes 4-0. Is there any other business, Mayor?
No. I think you all,
A lot better tonight than you last night, didn't we?
so you don't have a meeting until the 14th. I think it's
Correct.
at 4:30. We have packets. They got theirs. That's it.
All right.
What you got?